The worst way to catch your wife cheating. It took place a few years ago, so this will be long. I finally felt like sharing it after reading so many stories and experiences here. I hope that my story will help someone else get through cheating. My ex-wife and I were married for almost 20 years. Before we met, I worked as a fireman full-time. I started working when I was 17 years old and finished from high school. I then went to fire academy with a parent waiver. Since I'm a fourth-generation firefighter, I worked my way up to battalion chief during our marriage. I then asked to be demoted to rescue captain of my department's rescue squad, where all of my licenses and other paperwork were kept. On one Christmas Eve, we got a call about a fire in an apartment building. When we got there, 18 people who lived there could not be found. I found a young husband and wife in one unit, helped them get out, and then changed my air bottle as a tender. The young woman started screaming, "My baby! My baby!" while she was sitting with the doctors. "Mom, what kind of baby do you want?" I asked her as I ran up to her. "Dog, cat, person, or what?" She kept saying, "My baby." I ran back in. After a short time, I came out with a baby. As I was leaving, something inside the building blew up and scattered things all over the place. Something big and sharp from the wood hit me in the back. I got to the emergency area somehow, gave the baby to someone else, and then fell down. That's when the piece of wood sticking out of me was found. My family flew me to an emergency center by helicopter. I died twice and came back to life while I was on the way. I was taken in for surgery right away. The piece had cut my heart, and I was going to die. My crew called my wife and told her what had happened. She told my team that she wasn't coming because she had more important things to do than worry about my plan to get her attention and how I was using my job to try to get into her pants. After 30 days in the hospital, they wouldn't let me go until they were sure I was well enough to go home. Up in the woods, about 60 miles from where I worked in a real hospital, I tried to get my wife to pick me up when I got out of jail. She said she wasn't able to drive. Someone on my team finally gave me a ride home, and when I got there, he went with me to my house to make sure I was okay and not by myself. It was dark outside, so we looked through my house for my wife. Her minivan was in the garage. My crewman came up behind me and yelled, "WTF are you doing?" as I fell to my knees when I opened our bedroom door. When we opened the door to my bedroom, my wife was already in bed. There was a guy in her mouth, one under her in her cat, and one behind her in her B. At first, the one in her mouth, B, and TTI hurt me the most. These are things she never did with me, and I never tried because I was too big and would hurt or gag her. My friend helped me get up. He took me outside and then went back inside to get some clothes for me to take. He took me to the house of another friend, and we talked about what had happened. When I caught her later, the friend who was with me said that the ex and her boy toys didn't stop what they were doing while he went in to get something for me. He even took cell phone video of them without them knowing. After a few days, my friends helped me get a lawyer and begin the divorce process. Our kids were adults by this time, so they didn't have to go through that divorce fight with us. Because I found out in court that everyone in our group of friends was getting my wife except me. She told the judge that she had done everything with every guy in town and that I was just a paycheck. She always hoped I'd die on the job so she could get our $1 million life insurance. She was always sweet and innocent when we met her in real life. Many things took a little longer for her, but when her mom lost everything and moved in with us for a while, my wife started to change. To give us all privacy, we bought a small building and turned it into a cottage on the back of our land. That way, her mom didn't live in the same house the whole time. When I moved her mom out back, I saw how she had changed. Since I was the only one working, it was hard for me to notice things like red flags. I worked 48 hours on and 24 hours off, when the regular schedule is 24 hours on and 48 hours off. But because she wouldn't work, I had to work double shifts and sometimes even a second job to support my wife, 2 kids, Mill, and me. The house was sold and everything was split up after they caught her. That was shared land that was sold, split, etc. My crew came together to help me when I needed it and to help me fight my way back to service. They were also there for me when I needed to talk to someone, among other things. It took at least an hour to get these people to help me because most of them lived in the city where we worked. I did everything I could to get my job back. When I reached 35 years of service, I planned to leave. Before I could go back to work, I had to pass my physical, etc. But then I was called into the chief's office and told, "Captain, you have two choices. You can retire now at 30 years old and keep your full pension and perks, or we can medically retire you and give you half." The words, "But I passed my return to duty tests," came out all jumbled. "Captain, you are one of, if not the best fire rescue specialist I have ever known. However, your age, history of injuries, and recent diagnosis of PTSD and bipolar make you a high risk, and your insurance company will no longer cover you. So, have you made up your mind?" I quit my job and felt sad and beaten. When my ex-wife found out, she started to beat me up over it, probably to try to kill me. I didn't let her, though. When I left the area, I started working as an animal rescuer to pass the time. I was living in an RV trailer, running an animal shelter, and no one would hire me. It was the worst time of my life. I didn't have to work, but I did need to do something. I swore I wouldn't date women again, except for my sister, who works as a fireman. For a long time, I didn't hang out with friends, date, etc. I thought I would never be with someone again. I wasn't sure if I could trust anyone again. Then it took place. I began to play what I think you'd call one of those more games, where I met a woman, we talked, and then we swapped names and other information. She told me, "No way you're a perv or anything, because no one is going to invest this long to pick a target." 18 months later, she decided she wanted to meet me. It made me laugh more than any other time in my life. You know what? At first I didn't want to, because we were 20 years apart in age and of different races. People from different races still avoid dating where I live. There are many ways in which this town is still very much like the Stone Age. But I agreed to meet her. I'm sure it was the best choice I've ever made. She was even better than I had imagined. Like me, she was stuck in the past. She was brought up to think that a woman's only job was to take care of her husband and children, not to make money and have a career. There's nothing wrong with a woman working, but family should always come before anything else, man or woman. I guess it's kind of funny or something. In the Vietnam War, I lost my dad. Now I'm married to a Vietnamese woman, and we're going to have our first child in November 2021. Even though cheating is awful and might be the worst thing that can happen, please remember that it's not the end of the world. Also, not every man or woman is like your cheating partner. You need to take time for yourself, get help, and get back to being yourself. Don't rush, and know that someone or something better is also looking for you. You should never kill yourself. It shouldn't be possible to give up. You're strong, so you can do it. You can start over and make your life better and new. Always remember that love and life will find a way. What Redditors thought. The Redditor one. I suppose a report. Some people may wonder if my ex got her just desserts because I forgot to say what happened to her. Even though we don't talk, our kids tell me about her from time to time. Our kids are very careful that we don't come to see them at the same time. When big things happen, they do tell both of us about the other. When people found out what my ex-wife did, she was kicked out of town. This let me move back to my hometown, where I now live with my new partner and soon-to-be-born child in the old house that my parents used to live in. The ex, on the other hand, has not done as well. She has been with two people online who turned out to be Nigerian crooks. In real life, she was with two guys, and both of them cheated on her by using her big chest and other parts. Anyone would want her, but a blow-up doll would be more fun and more interested in bed than my ex. Yes, just plain vanilla, missionary, and dog. Yes, the last time I heard from her, my 44-year-old ex-girlfriend was living with her mom in a one-bedroom house with 5 cats and 5 dogs. She only has a job at a dollar store. Reddit user 2. I think it sounds facky. The third Redditor. Thank you very much, sir. For many years, you risked your life to save others. A lot more respect is due to you. Your story shows that you didn't give up and found happiness. A fourth Redditor. She looks pretty plain. I mean, any woman who takes it by mouth through an IV or vaginally sounds very plain.